Okay, behind me are some of the cattle that we ran up into the chute, and you know, obviously they're staying on this side and they're looking for they knew how they came in and they're kind of looking for that way out. Behind me is what we call a circle tub, and a circle tub, as you move the gate farther and farther forward, it gives them less options of where they're going to go, and eventually one of them is going to find the exit on that side. If you notice, when whoever that happens to be comes down in that spot, Tim has got the gate open enough so that they see daylight in front of them. That's where they're going to want to move. The circle tub that's behind us is not my favorite design. I prefer one that is not open slats. If their vision is limited by things on the other side, by shadows, things like that, they move more easily through it. But this is a less expensive design, not the one that you would choose based upon having more availability of funds and facilities that you're going to have to use more frequently. Okay. Well done. Okay, so anyway, this big Charolais cow has got herself up inside. As I said before, you want a means of getting away in case anything goes wrong. Amber put this stout pole behind her in case she got herself loose from the head gate. I'm not going to get run over, and that's really becomes important. She's a real good-natured cow, and guess what? She moved at an ideal speed. And these two can attest, if asked, the ones that are scary are the ones that they get in there and they're afraid themselves until they hit that head gate where Tim's standing at as close to a full run as they can get, okay? She's a cow that's been around here, has got a great personality. She works relatively easily, and she's up into the chute, and that's all we've got to do. If I was going to go ahead and preg check her or anything else, I've got some room. She's blocked from behind. She got loose, she still can't come over the top of me, and I can get out of here reasonably quick. Occasionally when you've got them in here, you want them more secure than that alone. If you had, by example, you had some work that needed to be done like jugular vein or something else, okay? Now, you can put a nose tong in them, which then you can secure to that portion right there, or you can just reel them in this way, and you've got them a lot more secure. Amber, can you come and hold this for a second? She's pretty well good-natured about all this. But anyway, if I had any work that had to be done on her, that having her head is really secure, as an example, if I had to give her an IV and I wanted to track it down through this recess that's right there and catch rather a jugular vein or a carotid artery to give her any form of medication, I can go ahead and do that. If I need to catch a pulse or something else, she's well restrained, and that works. But one of the things to always remember about putting a halter on, if you've got cows that are going to throw their head, and literally the cows are worse about throwing their heads than the bulls are, make sure as you come across the top of them that you watch her real carefully. If you're leaning right over the top and you put a halter on her and she brings her head up, hits you in the chin, or knocks your front teeth out, that kind of constitutes a bad day. So remember, everything about this is intended to keep you safe and to keep them in as low level of stress as you can. Okay, I decided it was probably appropriate to spend a little bit of time talking about this chute, which is a TECO, and these are found in ranches all over the country, real common chute. And there's some things they do really well, but there's some really inherent risks in the design of how they were put together, and almost anybody that's worked them can attest to that. One of the good things about them is if you've got a cow, steer, whatever caught in it, they stay caught, okay? There's no maybe about this. If you take a look at the difference in the design of this, as an example, once the cow or the bull's head is through that section, okay, and they put their head through here thinking that they're gonna jump, and you drop this part, you can really pull their heads down really tight, and they're very, very well confined. You still might have to use a halter or nose tongs or something else, but here's the part of the design that gives the risk. If you look at the front part of this, it V's down to the bottom. You got cattle in there and they get hungry, or they get tired, or they lose their footing, they fall down, and it wedges their neck down here at the base of this, which puts pressure both on the carotid artery and the jugular vein, and they black out. They can't get any blood flow to their brains, and there's no oxygen, and they literally pass out inside the chute and can go unconscious. The second big thing is when that happens, you've always got to monitor them real carefully when that happens. The way that they get out of this one, Amber, if you'll pull on that, and Tim, swing it back the other way. Okay, is that way. Now, if you think if they're passed out in there and they've got all that weight down on the base of this head gate, you can't pull that thing open. You can't get them out easily. And so it really requires a tremendous amount of monitoring on this style of chute right here, that you're always watching the cow, the calf, the bull, whatever you've got in there very, very closely. But again, the good side of this is they rarely get their heads out of these. It's much more common in the scissor design, that as things get worn, they manage to be able to get loose. It doesn't happen in this one very commonly, but I'd say these chutes are probably less popular today than they were originally. Both of them work, both of them are very, very satisfactory in restraining the animals and keeping you safe, but I'd say there's probably a greater risk associated with this if you don't really know what you're doing and you're short-handed and you don't monitor the animal that's in it. Okay, this chute's a lot heavier duty than the previous two that you looked at, and it's got a lot more safety features built into it to make handling animals a lot easier. One of them is the way that the gates close by chain, okay? So I can open up the size of this gap right here based upon whether I'm putting a calf in it, I'm putting a cow in it. I can regulate how narrow the neck space is going to be. And once that thing is down and caught, provided your spring is okay, you don't have to have somebody hanging on all the time. If you've got a cow that goes down inside there, okay, what's really a handy feature is, go ahead and Tim, is this opens from either side and you can let them in or out, go in either direction, okay? That side, this side, either way, you can roll them any way that you want coming out of there. And the third feature is this entire chute, which Amber will activate for you, narrows up top to bottom, if you can see that. Very good, loosen it up again. So that's real handy if you've got a calf that goes through there. If you've got a big cow and it's going to be followed by a calf, you can narrow it up enough that the calf can't get himself turned around in there and headed in the opposite direction. So this obviously a much better chute than the first two that you looked at. And that's one of those investments you make in handling animals. You're either going to have to use more people, okay, or you're going to have to use better equipment. There's not a whole lot of exceptions to that, but reading animal behavior is always going to be critical for you in keeping you safe and in keeping them as low a stress as possible. There's some real other basic things. Here in the San Joaquin Valley, our summers are really, really long and really hot. Keep the stress level on the animals low, work them in the cooler part of the day, and the people that work for you will appreciate that too. Thank you.